Good evening, Yorktown, and welcome to the Town Board Work Session for October 25th, 2022. If we could all please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could bow our heads in a moment of prayer as we give thanks for living in a country that allows us to gather in this way. Tonight we keep in our thoughts and prayers all of our first responders, our police officers, firefighters, and EMS workers. We also keep in our thoughts and prayers all of the brave men and women serving overseas or here at home, protecting our freedoms and defending our country. Tonight we also say a prayer for all of our healthcare workers as we see an increase in sickness with the flu and several other viruses going through our communities. We ask that we keep them all safe so that they all come home safe and sound, and thank them for their service to our communities. Thank you.
Amen.
We'll do introductions.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Good evening, Tom Diana, Deputy Supervisor, Councilman.
Matt Slater, Town Supervisor.
Councilman Ed Lachterman.
Sergio Esposito, Councilman.
Luciana Howitt, Councilwoman.
Okay, we're going to begin.
Town Attorney.
Oops. Sorry, Adam. Jumped the gun. Jumped the shark there. Adam Rodriguez, our Town Attorney, attending virtually tonight. We're going to start the evening by convening a public hearing to consider an amendment to Chapter 300 entitled Zoning, Section 300-3B, and several other sections of 300 regarding non-commercial dog kennels. And so I want to, Mr. Steinmetz, if you want to take the podium, please, and just remind the public about the matter at hand.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the Town Board. David Steinmetz from the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz. Good to be back before all of you, and especially pleased to be here this evening representing Guiding Eyes for the Blind. I'm joined tonight by Tom Panic and Bill Ma from Guiding Eyes, our project engineer, Joe Rena, but really maybe the most compelling reason why I am here, Blaze made sure, Blaze here in the front row, made sure that Tom and Bill decided to file a petition for rezoning. Why would Blaze do that?
Smart. He's a very smart.
I spent a few minutes with Blaze. Blaze is incredibly smart. And Blaze is giving me the eye, like, stop.
He is.
Stop.
He definitely is.
Guiding Eyes, as we all know, has been a wonderful fixture here in the Yorktown community for a long time. Guiding Eyes is doing quite well. The pandemic probably only put them in a position where they needed to provide even more service and more guide dogs out there after a period of difficulty. And we're here because Guiding Eyes does need a new state-of-the-art kennel facility, and they obviously would like to do that here where they're based in Yorktown. So they are now a contract vendee on a 12-acre parcel of land. I think you're all familiar because we did talk about this months ago, at Mohansick Avenue and 202, right behind the mobile station, a piece of property that is presently owned by Temple Israel. And you will all recall, those of you who were around or on the board at the time, Temple Israel many years ago came before the town and secured approvals to take that 12-acre, essentially vacant parcel and turn it into a development for a synagogue, a catering facility, a school, etc. That never happened. The property remained vacant, and Guiding Eyes has now secured control or site control of the property. The property is, as I said, 12 acres located in the town's IN or interchange zone. In your interchange zone, commercial or non-commercial kennels are not permitted uses. So while we're going to talk briefly about the site, Joe and I are really here tonight specifically with regard to the zoning text amendment. We did file, at the urging of Blaze, a rezoning petition to modify some of the provisions of Section 300-56 to allow for kennels, non-commercial and commercial, in the IN zone. We presented a petition to your board with draft zoning. We met with your staff. John and Adam have been terrific in working through the details with us, and we met with the planning board. The planning board and the planning department made some suggestions to our draft language. They suggested that we reduce the minimum lot acreage from 12 acres to 7. They encouraged some implementation of clear language on noise mitigation requirements, and they suggested that it wasn't necessary to tie the number of dogs to the number of acres. Beyond that, this is basically an additional special permit in this zone. Could there be other kennels in the zone? There could be. Is it likely? No, it's extremely unlikely that this use would occur, but we didn't limit it just to this parcel. So Joe can share screen to the extent you want to see what we're actually proposing on the property. We did discuss it with you preliminarily several months ago, and we do have a draft site plan which accompanied our rezoning petition. Once your board elects to make the zoning text amendments, we can then proceed in front of the planning board in earnest and actually process the detailed site plan. But the concept is to allow for a state-of-the-art kennel, and Joe, feel free to bring that up.
Do you feel? Do you want to see because we have to take Adam off?
We don't need to do it. We don't want to not share with you. You saw an early
seen it several
iteration.
Yeah, I was
times.
gonna say, I thought we saw that
We've
one
seen
already.
it several times.
You did.
And
And
I
we're
actually
here on
did
the zoning text. We brought it just in case you needed. It's going to look quite nice. The architecture, just in a nutshell, not inconsistent, not very different from what Tom and Bill.
You have full renderings again?
We have conceptual drawings.
Yeah, the conceptual
then-
drawings with the
Maybe better
maybe better to
Put
take
that up?
Adam off. Yeah, Diana, if we can take Adam off.
kicked off.
That
Adam, we didn't request this. That was the supervisor that's knocking you off there.
Yo, again, don't take anything personal, David.
I hear you. Good.
so he can just connect, right? And it's going to boot him
Yeah,
off.
we're
It's going to move the whole thing down. Yeah, that's the one problem. Can you just lower that? Just pop it off. Just close it. It's fine.
Close this whole
No,
screen?
just end. Sergio, can you just end the whole meeting?
Yep.
That's done later at adjournment.
And then we're going to have to close it all out.
But we do that, which is what you originally said, right?
Yeah, no, that's not going to take it down all the way.
I'd like to be there where that picture was.
Oh yeah.
That looks nice.
Well, while we're waiting for this, I'll tell you what I saw. I saw firsthand the operation that Tom
you
and
were at the
Bill-
barbecue.
It was unbelievable. Aside from the beauty of the property and how well it's kept, I got a tour in the kennels, the existing kennels. I saw the state-of-the-art rooms that they have for the people that stay there, how they have the contrast and the colors, the technology that went in it, not just physical technology like computers and stuff, but just the contrast. So this way, people who have trouble seeing, it's more clear for them. It's easier for them to get around. It's just unbelievable. And the other thing is, I ask, and I constantly ask, and you guys have consistently been very helpful with the small business that's located at the new property. And as a small business guy and a guy that spent quite a number of years promoting the small businesses in Yorktown, I really appreciate that as well.
We appreciate your comments, and I'm glad you got out there. Having lived in the town for 20 years, I'd never been on the property until the barbecue.
It's
and
really
it was
unbelievable. It's
a
just
very special thing to see the kennels and see the dogs and see some of the students walking and training, and it
One of the great things, if you get a chance, and I don't know if they're going to open that up again. With the Lions, we used to do the graduation parties.
yes.
Oh, my God.
Tom waxed poetically about that a couple of months back.
Yeah.
And it's the impact on someone's life
Yeah.
that time at Guiding Eyes has. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, we're pleased that with hopefully these zoning text amendments, Guiding Eyes can remain here, healthy, well, and take care of their students and their trainees.
Nobody can imagine what it's like to have one of those great dogs guide them around with a blindfold on until you actually do it. to put your total trust in that four-legged guy down there and have him guide you around and stop at curbs and so on and so forth. Thank God I had one of the instructors there with me because I was scared to death. I didn't know if he was going to drive me into the river or not there. But it's amazing having raised a guide dog and puppy socialization, which was just a thrill for my daughters when they were younger. I can't speak highly enough.
I mean, and with that being said, Guiding Eye stands for betterment and enjoyment for family, right? So with that being, I know that the home that is on the location where you're going to have this development, where we're like trying to get this development, there is a town family by the last name of Duranko, who that was their original home when they settled here in Yorktown. And I hope that maybe we can get together and give them a tour of the house before it becomes the puppy facility. So Bill, I'll be in touch with you.
Wow. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So real quick, Joe's got the site plan. I think we'll do the site plan, the visuals, and move on.
Tom, we're going to move the mic. Okay. So since we were before you last, Guiding Eyes has engaged a design build group to move the project ahead. I'm going to be civil site engineer for the Can you hear me, Tom? Okay.
He needs like a whole podium.
Anyway, I'm going to be the.
You want us to get down for you, or you need the whole table?
He's at the kids' table.
My cord isn't long enough. Sorry. So anyway, so they've engaged a design build group that's going to move the project along from a project management and design of the building part. I'm going to still be doing the site engineering. As part of their proposal, they did some concepts, which I'm going to show you. They're not engraved in stone in any way, but they give you a flavor of what they are looking to do and to get a flavor for the architecture for the project. So this is the overall site plan with the new concept laid in. This is Crampon here. This is the entrance across from Trader Joe's. And here's Mohansick on the east side of the property. The entry will continue to be where the existing driveway is. It crosses a channeled wetland right here. We're not going to cross anywhere else since there is already a crossing there. You'll come in. The parking will face east and face Mohansick Avenue. This is the main building. These are the pods for each of the different dog kennel areas. And what's in green there are the play areas or walking areas for the dogs. You'll see there's a loop driveway that's going around to provide drop-offs and service as necessary. On the south side, which is the Duranda residence, which is a Duranko, right? We're going to leave as much a natural buffer there as possible, but there'll also be a berm that'll be constructed to provide some sound and visual barrier from the project site. We don't believe sound is going to be an issue here because these are going to be a state-of-the-art kennels. You're not going to hear the dogs. Overall, this footprint is about just under an acre in size. The whole site is 12 and a half acres, right? About 12 and a half acres. It's just a little, maybe around an acre in size. And, of course, we're going to need to do all the stormwater management and the whole process once we get into the site plan aspect with the planning board. To give you some visuals on the look of the building. This would be the front of the building as you're coming in through the driveway off of Mohansick Avenue.
How nice that is.
So you can see it's very tastefully done. This is a closer view of the building. And this is looking down the sidewalk to give you a feel for how it will look and how the site will function with people walking around and
working the dogs, etc. This is a bird's eye view. Again, this is looking from north to south. So beyond the building would be the vegetative berm between the residential area and the project. And Route 202 we would be standing over 202 looking towards the project. All right, that's all I have as far as slides for you.
We have nothing more affirmative to present, so we're happy to answer any questions and obviously the hearing.
You know, this facility is beautiful, and I think it trumps any store that could have been put on that location at any given time. But the entry and exit onto that particular street, not having a real entry and exit onto 202 directly off of it, kind of mitigated that. I think it's a perfect use of this property. Is there going to be training on this property also, or just the kennel facility?
It's predominantly the kennel. There will be a medical facility as well, and Tom, you probably know because you've been on campus. There is a medical facility now that obviously with so many dogs and trying to keep them as healthy as possible, that there is a vet on staff and fairly sophisticated veterinary capability. It is, as we said in our petition and as we remind the board, this is not a veterinary clinic that's open to the public.
Right.
You can't bring your dog there. But there would be some incidental capability of training. It's really not designed for training. The dogs will be fed there. They will obviously reside there, and they'll have some play area outside.
So this will increase the size of the kennel. Not increase. It will allow more dogs to be brought in and trained and so forth. In addition to.
Correct. Some of the dogs will remain at Granite Springs, but the predominant number of dogs will be located here.
So you mentioned sound, and on my visit, I was standing with Bill right outside the kennel, and I mean, you could, standing 5 feet outside from the kennel, you could barely hear the dogs. So I really don't think this thing looks like it's in the middle of like nowhere, kind of, So I don't think sound will be an issue, and especially since this is going to be a state-of-the-art kennel. I got to tell you, it's one of the best-looking kennels I've ever seen.
I hear you. There are some of the housing.
Yeah, me too.
Some of the housing developers ought to take some hints from this, right? Sergio, like you, when I walked around, I was blown away.
You really can't.
And I walked it with the architect who said, "This is not a this kennel that you're walking around is decades old. It will be even markedly improved from that."
This is an absolute laudable cause for the area, for the community, and for our sight-impaired folks. That it does nothing but help everybody.
All good.
Tom, do you want to share something?
I would if the board will allow.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to...
Would you like me to step up to the...
No, you're good right there, Tom. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
The mic? Okay. Yeah, first of all, on the sound mitigation issue, thank you, David. The fact is that I've never heard Blaze bark, and I've had him for 4 years. So, the dogs are trained specifically to behave in a public setting, and so it's a unique type of organization where we're really training the dogs to be in public, and so that issue is something we pay a lot of attention to. But more importantly, aside from the interchange zone request, I just wanted to thank all of you for your incredible support of the organization. We rely on volunteers and donors, and I just want to share a very brief story with the board and the community. We welcomed 4 new blind people to the organization yesterday to receive their guide dog. Today was their very first walk with their guide dogs.
Wow.
And Paul and Tom and the other 2 as well were able to come to Yorktown, from where they lived, and they live as far away as California, Pennsylvania, the South. And I just remember Tom, since Tom Dan is here as well, talked about, Dog Day Raised Nacho.
Tom got a dog named Oscar today. It's a cute name for a dog. And Oscar and Tom, here in Yorktown, right there on Commerce and Veteran Street, learned for the first time how to travel as a blind individual independently. And there's really words cannot express how important the community support for this activity is. We give these dogs at no cost to people. I saw John DeVito earlier, who's been a longtime ally and partner of Guiding Eyes for the Blind in terms of other buildings that we've done. It really takes the community to make this work, and I just wanted to express my gratitude for everything you've all done. Thank you.
That's amazing.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you,
Tom.
Tom. Thanks for
Thank you for
sharing that.
sharing
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that really, I think, just really just emulates the town as all.
I will
Much
tell you,
larger level.
my wife and I walk our lab through town every day. Most people don't mistake him for a Guiding Eyes dog with his behavior, but we do make sure that we keep him away in support, that he doesn't give your other dogs bad habits. But we always love seeing the training, and actually he watches it. It's kind of funny. Our lab sits there and watches the other dogs, like interested in what they're doing.
It's interesting how badly behaved Blaze is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely terrible.
Well, now that we know the impetus to the request for the zoning change, I think it's important for us to move forward with the process here. The town clerk can show the advertisement for tonight's public hearing. There we go. And if there's no other comments, Counselor, then we will open it up for comments from the public. If you would like to comment on the proposal to allow non-commercial dog kennels to the interchange zone, please come to the podium, state your name, and we're happy to hear your comments. Again, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on the matter? Hearing nobody, I'll make a motion that we close the public
second.
hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Tegater in the back. Want to just jump up there for us real quick? I just want to make a point, as we have in the past, that we have, and we've deliberated on this before, but there were comments from Westchester Planning, Abaca, Conservation, DEP, Tree Advisory. The only one really with, I think, substantive comments was the Planning Board, which, as was stated earlier by Mr. Steinmetz, I just wanted to confirm that you, and I obviously read the legislation, but you and your department collaborated with them to make the amendments that were suggested.
Yes, we're happy with the amendments. We think it's the way to go.
Great. Any other questions from the town board to Mr. Tegater, Director of Planning? No? Very good. I'm ready to adopt if you guys are.
Ready.
I'm ready.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. All right. Very good. You're off and running. Thank you.
Or off and guiding.
Off and guiding. That's a better one. Yeah, much better.
I like that.
Tom Blaze is welcome to stay.
Yeah,
If he
Blaze can
likes.
stay as long as he wants.
As well as you.
He wants to go home and eat.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Thank you very, very much. And Tom's been instrumental in our accessibilities committee, so we appreciate his assistance as we've tried to make our town more accessible for all people here in Yorktown.
It looks like the harnesses are upgraded too.
Just different types for different people.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to keep going because Miss Arena is still sitting at the kids' table there, and we're going to go over to the Wyant property. This is a project that was before the town board back in 2019. Public hearing was had and closed. Lead agency declared, and I know that you and your clients were off running through the bureaucracy of the state and DEP. I don't mean to cause you to hyperventilate there, John, when I say those three letters. But if you want to update us as to where you're at, I know that there's interested parties
Bring
here.
up the plan? Or?
Why don't you? Because I know several of the town board members
Before us, yeah.
where it was they weren't here. Neither was I actually when you were before us with the public hearings, and so
Only the two old guys.
I didn't say that.
But you
I may have been
I'll say
thinking of it, but I didn't say it.
We're nothing but old gray hair, man.
You still have some color in yours.
Well, a little. Cretan formula.
So the site plan for those who are not familiar with it, it's 2.62 acres located on the corner of Crom Pond and Hamlin. As Matt stated, this was granted transitional zone overlay, and the proposal is for 23 residential units, townhouse style attached in 4 buildings. The discussion at the time was access. There was a lot of discussion about the access coming in off of Hamlin. So to accommodate concerns of through traffic, we've put a sweeping entry point and exit point there to direct the traffic to Crampon instead of through Hamlin, which is what you see there. And there's a secondary drive which comes out onto 202, or entry onto 202, which is purposely aligned with potential future right-of-way, bypass right-of-way if that ever gets built, that goes around the back of the, what's the name of that building there? No.
Oh, Verizon?
Yeah, the Verizon building and comes and pops out across from Downing. Anyway, so that was the chosen location for that. That requires a DOT permit. So as the plan stands now, and the thinking now is, we are pursuing this plan as it is. That will be an emergency entrance only until such time as we can obtain the full permit from the DOT, which we hope will come into play before this project gets completed, and then that would be the main entrance. Then this would be where this would become the plan, and then the emergency access would be off of Hamlin, and that would be the main entry point. So
Can you go back up again for me?
yeah.
So what you're saying is originally, right now, the plan is to come in off of Hamlin?
Right now, our plan is to come out to Hamlin, and we're working on. There was a lot that went into this whole design of this of the entrance onto 202, and at the time there were 2 applications before the board. There was the Roma building and this building.
Yep.
And there was a master plan done for redoing the intersection.
Yep.
At 118 and 35, and which involved taking of right-of-way on both properties. So this property has deeded the right-of-way, so it's in place now. The DOT now owns a strip of land that was originally part of this property for expansion of the roadway in the event the entire master plan comes into play. So at this point, without the Roma people in play, that's not happening. When that does happen, this will be ready to go. As I said, the right-of-way has been deeded and accepted by the DOT. So with that said, for now, this is an emergency exit only, and that's the main entrance coming in off of Hamlet.
Doesn't that change the configuration of the development from a traffic standpoint? Because
No.
you're pushing them onto Hamlin to get in, right?
Right, but it doesn't. What do you mean? Doesn't it change?
Because I may have misunderstood them based off of the notes, the minutes from the last public hearing, but I thought that the entrance was coming. If you go up to your next slide.
Yeah.
So the final plan is for the emergency access to be granted off of Hamlin, right?
That's correct.
But that's not what you're originally doing until you get the permit from DOT. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Until we get the permit from the DOT, this will be the plan after we get the permit from the DOT.
So when the whole project is completed, right? That's going to be the final
That's
product.
the plan. That's the plan.
So
The entry off of Hamlin will be an emergency exit only.
Which was what was originally proposed when
Correct.
the last time you were before the
Correct.
town board.
This is exactly what we proposed.
Right. So you're saying it's a temporary access then, until DOT provides
Until DOT provides us
the permit for you to go onto Route 202.
Correct.
Right turn in, left turn out only. That's the sweeping
Correct.
area up there that I know that there was a lot of talk about, and this kind of mitigated what the concerns were of the members of the community that live down on that way, so that it hopefully will not impact them.
Correct.
If I recall correctly, a higher curb, everything sweeping out, it prevents someone from making a left into it, so they wouldn't come up through Hamlin, and it prevents them from making a right out of the complex. So,
Yeah.
That's correct.
out of curiosity, has there been any discussion with the owners of the Roma building on at least?
They're off the radar. I've tried to reach out to them because I was working on that project also, and they
No, they haven't been back in over 2 years.
Yeah, ghosted.
Yeah.
And another thing to point out, as you can see to the right there, we are showing and deeding an
access to the
access
parking lot.
easement to the Roma property so
Right.
that they can close that entrance, that westerly entrance that they have that comes in off the back, and use this as an access point when everything falls into place.
I just want to make sure, though, because I know that the Hamblin entrance was really, let's say, problematic while you were designing the project. Right? I just want to make sure, though, that it's clear that the end result is still going to be what was originally proposed.
That's correct. Yes, this is exactly the way it was presented. We haven't changed anything with the way it was presented. This was going to be phase 1, but phase 2 is this plan here.
And what is needed to complete to phase 2?
DOT has to grant us permanent. They've conceptually agreed to move things along to allow that to be to build that entrance and make it an emergency only exit. Then we will then continue the process to make that a permanent entrance, and then that would then render Hamlin just the emergency exit.
So does DOT want to try it out before they give us the blessing?
Well,
No,
There's someone that's ridiculous.
yeah, it's
Actually, are they waiting for property from the Roma building?
they're
Is that
waiting
a-
for property from the Roma building, but they also
Oh, I see what
indicated.
you're saying. They're going to take
Yeah,
a little.
but they also indicated they would consider issuing us a permit for that. It's just it's a process.
Is
So
there-
how far
It's not a walk in the park to get that permit.
Of course not,
Yeah.
and I realize that. Matt actually didn't want to use the DOT phrase because that's really probably would make you pull your hair out.
I think DEP's worse. So.
Yes.
How far along the process are you with the
We
final?
have an application in with them. It took a long time for them to accept for us to create the deeded access strip that we gave them. It took a while to put that. We had to do title search, phase 1, all kinds of nonsense we had to go through. They get special surveys done. We finally got all that done. They've accepted that. Now we're in the process of getting the application.
They've indicated, as far as you're concerned, that is something that will eventually. They like the concept of the final concept.
Yeah, I mean they were part of the whole master plan there. We met with them a few times. They were part and parcel of that whole process, developing the master plan, the deeding of properties, and the geometry, the final geometry.
But if Roma doesn't give the easement, right?
Then what?
Then what happens? Then are we stuck with the original slide?
No, we're still going to pursue that as a permanent entrance. It's just the DOT. Again, it's a process.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So we're not shying away from that.
I just don't want the residents in the neighborhood to think that the work that was done has been undid. If you know what I mean.
No, that's not it
So,
at all.
because I just want to make sure that even if you don't get ascertain that easement from Roma, right? We're still ending with the emergency access just on Hamblin, and it's still going to be dumping out of the 202. Correct?
Correct. That's the plan. That's what our plan.
Even without Roma building at play.
Even without Roma building.
Okay.
Because of the one in and one out, right?
No, I mean DOT is yet to ultimately say, left in.
Okay. They still have to give you that. When I'm in the
left
other.
in or no, no left out or only right turn in. They have yet to, definitively say that. We're hoping that they don't, because then all that's going to do is just push traffic in one direction. But they have indicated to us that the quickest path for us for our approval is to call that an emergency access for now, and then we can go down the road of making it a permanent.
I mean, that is honestly just the bureaucracy of like how to label it.
Yeah.
You label it a certain way and you get a holding pattern, but
But that was part of the deeding of that particular property
Right.
to the state, if I'm not mistaken, going back to 2020
Well, that
or
deeding,
whatever it was.
In a way, the deeding of that property has nothing to do with this entry point here. The deeding of the property has to do with if the master plan comes into play and Roma comes to the table, and then the whole geometry and roadway gets done all at once. So now the property's been deeded, it's in place. That's separate from, in a sense, from this access point. This access point is going to be the access point. As far as we're concerned, that's going to be the main access point.
The one on Hamlin? No.
No.
The one on
Okay.
202.
This plan here. Yeah, this plan here.
So, do me a favor, just go over the makeup of the amount of units and all of that stuff for people.
Sure, it's 23 units. The end units of each building are single story master, not single story, but master suite on the main floor. The other units are all up and down units. They're all 2 bedrooms with the potential to be 3 if needed with a den. We've received all our approvals from the DEP, from the health department. The only one we're shy on right now is the
DOT.
The DOT.
Okay, so it's 23.
Which
First
was
floor.
brought down from
36. Yeah.
And then I think garages were an additional, I think at one point in time, but I forget. They're part of the building. Okay.
Any other questions from you guys? So I guess I'm just going to ask you, what happens if you're done building before you get the DOT permit?
Then we would have to, at some point, make that conversion. The infrastructure will all be in place, then we would just have to make the conversion.
No, I guess what he's saying is like, if it goes from emergency to you can't have it, instead of emergency and you can have it.
Yeah, well, we're basing that on
Emergency and you can have it.
that DOT has told us. We had meetings with them. We have things in writing from them, that they were in favor of this concept.
So they're in favor of the concept on the board.
Yeah.
So we're not anticipating any reason that it won't be a 202 entrance and exit.
As far as we're concerned, this is the final plan.
And it sounds to me that they're giving them this blessing of this emergency title because they haven't done all of their homework to give you the passes. Is what we're hoping is happening. But they're not going to have you build a structure and say,
I mean, they may say, well, we'll give you the permit now.
yeah, you may not even get the temporary.
Right.
Now, is there gonna be turn lanes in or just straight off 202?
If the master plan is put in place, there'll be some turn lanes.
Turn lanes and so forth. That'll go right down to the center.
Right. The master
Four
plan
corners.
even calls for a potential traffic light if that bypass road goes in.
Right, but that master plan's not going to be implemented once this is completed, right? So, right. So you're just saying
if Roma comes in though.
if Roma, right? But
Yeah.
we can't find them right now. So that's why I'm saying, I just want to make sure we're clear. So until that point, there's not going to be a turn lane going into.
No, there's no
Complex.
turn lane
Right.
proposed. Nope.
Right. Okay.
At this point.
No, you're right. I mean, they own the land.
Yeah.
We don't
Right.
own it anymore.
Right.
That's part of why it takes so long.
Yeah. No, I understand.
So if you started tomorrow, how long before? What's your anticipated completion time of completion?
January 1st?
I don't know, how long has it been now?
Oh, my God.
So how long?
To build out.
So if it started in the spring, 18 months.
18 months until it's fully completed. And I would hope DOT wouldn't take 18 months to get you the permit, right?
Well, yeah.
From your
we're
mouth to
hoping-
God's ears.
There's already been how many? It's already been
6 years.
6 years to try to get it done.
Just to get, I mean,
I mean, I had a kid in that time.
right, I think,
Just saying.
I think it took
Just put it out there.
just to deed the right of way. I think it was a 3-year process just to deed that right of way strip to them.
Right.
But you have been working on the whole thing as a whole, correct?
Yeah, Phil Greeley's office is, they're handling all the DOT permitting. They've already submitted the permit.
They put the permit application in.
Yeah.
Everything is
Correct.
already.
It's
So right now it's just bureaucracy.
correct.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, I just.
Hence the names of the titling. I hear what if.
No, I just want to make sure that that's
Well,
where we're landing.
yeah,
I mean, I just want to make sure for the residents of that neighborhood that this is we're getting the final result that they were told about
Right, and
when we got to that point.
yeah, but to be clear, as a measure of safety, let's call it, for the neighbors, that driveway was designed so that it does not push the traffic that way, or traffic can come in from Hamlin, coming from the east
Right.
into the property.
Right.
So it was designed specifically to avoid the what if situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So where does that leave you in the process in relation to the needs of the town and the town board?
At this point, we're looking to get final approval, site plan approval, which would then finalize the transitional zone being accepted on this property, and the site plan being accepted. The site plan being
And so that would be again just for the site plan that we see on the screen right now.
Which has the deduction of units and has
Well, no. Most importantly, it has the emergency. It's the emergency
entry.
entry and exit off of Hamlin, and not the main entrance. Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
Serge?
So on Hamblin, where the entrance is now, how far down Hamblin is that? Like if, just visually, doesn't look too
May-
far down.
Yeah, maybe 75 feet, 50, 75 feet, off the intersection.
In between the first and second house on the left.
Right. It's actually, no, that's actually the driveway for the first house that you see there. So it's,
Oh, okay.
that's the first house, the one that sat abandoned.
Right.
or is Still abandoned, and then that's the driveway for that house right there.
Oh, so it's at the first house on the
Pretty far up. Yeah.
Anything from you, Mr. DeVito?
Would like to be still alive.
Yeah, I'm sure you would be.
I have dark hair.
I think all I
Your
actually
hair
think,
look like his, like
I
Kyle's?
Sometimes, yeah.
I think all of us feel the same way at this point. We'd
Right.
like to be alive to see this.
Right. Kyle, anything you want to add? If you want to jump to the mic and add anything, or
No, I think I'm okay.
okay. All right. Mr. Taggart in the back. Anything you'd like to share with us? No, on this.
I'm not going to share anything on the plan,
Mm-hmm.
but my next steps will be probably have another meeting with these guys to formulate, make sure everything's in the resolution that I'll be writing for you,
Mhm.
and make sure that some of the procedural things where we left off, that we move forward to make sure that we haven't missed anything. So
Mhm.
that's my next steps.
Thank you, John.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rena.
All right.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
coming.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for bringing it back.
Thank you, DeVito and Son.
I did
Yeah. And son.
and
Son,
son.
just one.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to our next. We have Sign permit application for 2035 Sawmill River Road. John Leclerc. Is John here? Mr. Leclerc. No? John Tegeter? On the sign permit application for Sawmill River Road?
Mm-hmm.
You have an update for us? I don't think Mr. Leclerc is here.
Yeah. I don't have, our question was what's going on with the larger project.
Yep.
So I think that's a discussion to have just to make sure what's going on. But so they're redoing these signs, and I think it speaks to some of the signage I think is going to be on the canopy. I thought there was going to be a new canopy possibly, or at least a reconfigured canopy. Tom, you may remember that.
Yeah.
So, going from memory, I don't recall exactly where it was left off, but, that would be my discussion that I would ask if someone was here. So other than that, in terms of the sign configuration, sizes, and et cetera, I don't have anything.
Right. I know that the planning board had no comments on the signage itself, and I'm not quite sure where Mr. Leclerc is. So we'll have to come back to this one.
Did we want to go to a monument sign there, John, or was it the pole-mounted sign but lower?
They have a monument sign there.
Okay.
It's the one right out here.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
They have a monument sign out there. I think they're replacing it, but they're also redoing some of the rebranding with some of the, the fancy stuff that goes like this by the pumps.
Yep.
I think they're doing the sign on the canopy, which is something that we need to pay attention to because I know that the design of the canopies we had discussions on relative to the larger project. So
Yeah.
just want to make sure that we're not missing anything or if their plans have changed, that's all.
Okay.
Makes sense. I mean, I'm looking at the site plan, or at least the renderings. So I guess we'll have to bring them back and see if we can get some answers out of them from there. All right.
Okay, let's move on and then
Go on to Westchester Power Update. Dan Welsh. Welcome back, Mr. Welsh.
Do we have a connection?
You can connect if you go to that website right up top there.
That means I have to. Okay, I have to get on the interwebs then. For that. Sorry about that. I'll need a.
You're going to.
Okay. Yeah. So use the IP address.
That I can recall.
Rosie tries to call me 3 times. Just now. I text Carol.
Oh.
Yes.
Carol calls and she's like, "Oh, I forgot you had a meeting. I forgot what I wanted to ask." It was literally 3 minutes.
What's that?
Rosie.
Is there a network I want to log into? Town Hall? Town Hall?
Or whatever it was. And the emergency exit, once they got the licensing, was supposed to be, they were real exit and they were going to block off Hamlin Street.
Well, no, Hamlin was supposed to be the emergency. I thought.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Block off the Hamlin Street exit as emergency only.
Yeah, but that's not the way that it was.
Oh, I'd say no for that one. That's a
No, he said that
level.
would become emergency.
It would be emergency.
Okay, so we're connected.
When?
Does that mean?
I don't think he wants. He said when you asked him the questions, he basically was saying, "Look, they've given us stuff in writing. They've had conversations, and it all looks like it's going through."
Because that's what the bone of contention was.
Right.
Way back when.
Right. And we
And I'm
knew
just
that,
making sure what I'm doing.
yeah, we knew that DOT need to get involved, which they did with the master plan, and this was part of their suggestion.
Because I went over that with Phil Greeley, and I went over that with John, and with Joe Arena. I said, you got to make it right in, left out, with a major skipping turn, because they almost took that out at one point.
Oh, here we go.
Here.
Happening over here.
I'll ask the question. If
Okay, so now I'm
will
connected.
the DOT proceed with participation in the mini master plan? Will Hamlin remain the main egress for Wyant? Mr. Reno said that DOT is looking at the Wyant as a standalone project, and Hamlin will not remain the main egress once this process is complete. I'm concerned. I'm not going to be big.
So maybe you need to give Phil or Joe online and say.
That's a different response than before, it looks like.
Read that exchange right there. That's my thing. I'm not trying to be like, you know, a pain in the ass, but
But you are. No, you're absolutely right.
What time? I don't know. What time's the village party?
What should,
Do you have a,
Saturday.
you don't have an,
do you have a
6.
presentation?
I do, yeah.
You want to just email?
Who's paying for this?
candidates.
I could do that.
Candidates.
Oh, yeah, except I gotta be on the internet to do that.
Okay, well, you're on the internet.
What's that?
You are on the internet.
Oh,
So you should be able to.
okay, I'm on the internet.
Joe was waiting on that. Joe.
Wait, if I'm on the internet, oh, but I can't connect to the screen, is the problem. Okay, got it.
Their process is complete.
So,
people. Frankie kids, who cares?
The Wyant is a standalone project, and Hamlin will not
Remain the main egress once they will
stop.
once the process is complete. So once
I
the
think.
process is complete,
Okay.
everything's a standalone.
Adam's in the waiting room.
No, he's in here.
Oh, he's here?
He's on, he's just not turned
Ah.
on. Because I really can't turn him around right now.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
You can hear, right?
I can hear. I can't really
All right.
understand what
Sorry
people are saying
about
right
that,
now.
Matt. I
Under the
think
mama
you
baby
should-
cookies.
Yeah. Try to put the mics closer.
All right, Dan, you sent it over to me?
Yeah, I did.
Mr. Weingart. Are you Mr. Weingart?
Well, we've done this enough times, I should have had that down, right?
Does he live in Mamaroneck?
Okay.
Like South Mamaroneck?
Oh.
Oh, move it.
I mean, you're Mrs. You're wearing,
You need
you're
a
wearing the
Snickers.
Mr. Weingart.
Hasn't come through yet, Dan.
Today.
I'm like, I think I know him.
Oh, I got it. We're good.
Excellent. Apologies.
Got it?
Okay, Mr. Welsh, the floor is yours.
Hey.
All right, so thanks again for taking the time. I want to give you guys an update. We've made some progress here. You can go to the second slide. So we'll talk just about where we are with the program in general, just quickly, and give you an update on where we are specifically for Yorktown's compliance, which is in good shape, and the approvals, and give a little bit of background on where the market is now, and look at possible contracting scenarios, and have a chat about that. So, great. Next. And just to orient people online, Westchester Power is the power collective that Sustainable Westchester administers and has 29 participating municipalities to date, and the total number of residents participating is probably up to 150,000 with the latest refresh. And again, just the gist of it is clearly leveraging the buying power to be more proactive about your energy, improve access to renewable energy, get reliable fixed rate pricing. It is an opt-out format. Remember, that's to say it becomes the default. If people don't actively opt out, they roll in. It does have some important consumer protection and consumer-friendly features, specifically that there are no opt-out fees or anything. You can opt out or in or change supply at any time. And for a lot of municipalities, it's served as an important platform for building other green programming. On top of it, again, we always want to give the caution with the way the rights are structured. We don't know what future utility rates are going to be. It's not a program that guarantees savings. Okay? So that's just quick orientation. So you actually saw this slide last time, but this was what we were going in to the DPS to submit. And so we completed all the outreach, and we actually have continued to do some outreach subsequent to that. We did a 3-session library series over the John Hart Library, and we participated in the Fall Festival through Yorktown 100, thanks to them. And we made this submission of the whole package. You can go to the next slide now, and receive this approval from the Department of Public Service
Great.
for Yorktown to be able to proceed and participate in the program.
Awesome.
So that was the sort of, let's position ourselves so that we can participate part of it. And so with that, in theory, if there was a contract in front of you, you could be basically signing it. But it's the art of figuring out what you want to do in that respect. So just to why don't you go back to that the slide here. This is just to orient around what's going on in the program, sort of county-wide. And we have the 3 aggregations, essentially. The one up in the NYSEG territory is 5 participating towns. And you see the term of that one is from March of this year was the start of that contract, and it goes through to November of next year. And rates at 10 cents and change for the renewable and 8.7 something for the standard. The Con Ed contract was just recently secured and as launching in November. You see the pricing is significantly higher, and that's of course a reflection on where the market has gone since then. So it's 15 cents for the renewable and 13.3, 13.4 for the standard supply option. And then last we have Yonkers, which again was bid out already in 2021 for a start in March. And again, the pricing is much different again. So it's just to show that the timing and the zone and these factors in the term have a big impact on the pricing. Go to the next slide. This is just a peek. And again, you've seen these slides more or less. And this time I just started from 2021 just to show you where the utility rates have gone in the meantime here. The blue bars are the utilities, and on the left it's NYSEG, the right it's Con Ed, and the horizontal bars are program rates. So see NYSEG again started in March and has been doing pretty well in the interim, and we expect, as we're heading into the winter months where traditionally the higher prices come, we should be in good shape with that one. And Con Ed, as we just looked at, is just launching in November, so there's no horizontal bars on that one yet. And so we'll see how that does. You can go to the next slide. And this is kind of the key. We've talked about this also, which is the underlying energy pricing, which is coming out of the natural gas markets. And I give us a little longer term view with this shot here than sometimes we look at. And you see this goes way back to 2007, and what that tells us is this recent jump up that we've seen is actually not the highest that we have had. If you go back there to 2007, and this is in million BTUs or something, so it's not relevant to electric pricing, but it's up at $13 plus. So just recently we hit close to $10 on that same scale. But in the past few weeks, we've seen a little drop. And that is most likely, or most of the reporting talks about the the mild weather that we've seen so far in this winter, and maybe just a little bit of a lull in the news around things. I was on a webinar about the markets with Constellation last week, and they were saying, if it stays like that, we could see prices just hang in there like that. But all the risk is on the upside. So they're priced in mildness, and if something goes to shake that up, then we could see higher pricing. And what's obviously also lurking in the background is what the international scene is going to do. So it doesn't look like anybody is in a hurry to fix that situation over there, for sure. And even though the Europeans have tried to stockpile stuff, you also have some protesting starting in the streets. And once people start to run out of gas and get cold, and you're likely to see some more noise on that count. So all that is to say, still a lot of uncertainty, right? So let's flip to the next slide. So for the past few weeks, we've been trying to monitor things by asking our current supplier, just tell us what the market rate, if we were going to sign today, what do those prices look like? So they go out and they get indicative prices out of the market. And so this is the past few weeks. It's not exactly weekly or anything, but so back in September, in the NYSEG side, we were just a bit over 13 cents per kilowatt hour. This is per kilowatt hour, 13.10. And you can see with that dip that we saw in the gas chart, this is kind of mirroring that to some extent, or at least it's reflecting those same sentiments, I guess. And we've seen it come down a little bit, about a penny. And the same really goes for the Con Ed pricing. But where it stands relative to the benchmark of our existing contracts, though, is another matter. So the NYSEG pricing coming down to a little over 12 cents is still almost 2 cents higher than our contract pricing in NYSEG. On the Con Ed side, though, it has dipped below the contract pricing that we just signed for. So that is to say, if you were to turn around and say, hey, could I sign into those contracts today? The supplier would look at this and say, well, I could get you into the Con Ed contract, but I'm losing 2 cents on the NYSEG contract. And you probably wouldn't be able to bridge that gap, as
But
so
what is the expected rate increase going to for the winter?
For the utilities?
Yeah, because the winter we're hearing that, right?
That's a good point. And I didn't load this up with all the Armageddon stuff
Right.
that I usually have, but this year there's some very clear signals, and you've probably seen it. And Con Ed and NYSEG have both made announcements saying that pricing is going up.
NYSEG put out a thing that it's going to be a 40% production hike.
Yeah, and Con Ed was 27%.
Right. So even if you locked in at the current rate, you're still going to be You're still going to be helping our ratepayers through the winter, based on those projections alone.
So let's go to I don't know if it's the next slide.
Well, go to the next slide.
issue
Sorry. I forgot that I was in control of the slides.
Yeah. So
go wherever you want with the slides.
So then the issue comes up. There's I said if we had a contract, we could sign it right away. If Constellation was ready to do that, then we would cut out the RFP steps. Essentially, if you said, well, we've got a contract that was bid out, we know what the pricing is, we can do that. Then we would cut out that first step. There would be a little bit of work to get that contract signed. But nevertheless, there's still a whole bunch of compliance processes. We've got the whole opt-out period and whatnot. So the bottom line is we would still catch the residents would still be catching the two worst months of the year sitting in utility supply. That's January and February. By the time, because they wouldn't be able to actually be enrolled in the program until February.
But when you enroll, are you locking into the November price, right?
It's a single price. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, assuming that's what's happening, you're enrolling into the existing contract.
Right.
Right. So so that would be, they would miss the protection in those 2 key months. So that's kind of a shame there. The other option is say we can go out for a separate RFP, but nevertheless that doesn't change
Right.
the timing on the winter there. So that's the real challenge we face is we're missing those.
So this is for Con Ed. What about NYSEG?
This is actually would be basically the same thing.
Be the same for both
right?
utilities?
Yeah, I mean, again, the two scenarios being the same, like either going to the existing contract or go out for an RFP. At this point, because the Con Ed contract is launching, when we talked about this, months ago, Con Ed hadn't launched, and then maybe it was a matter of are you waiting for that contract or not?
Right.
Today
we
the
were stuck
contract-
in this like no man's land where
Yeah.
we were trying to figure out where to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So the Con Ed contract is, people are enrolling into that in November,
Mm-hmm.
and so that'll be up and running. So, in a sense, if you're talking about rolling into an existing contract, in either case, that could happen, as soon as these processes are finished, or if you're going out
These
for an
worst
RFP.
case scenario or best case scenario?
In terms of the dates here,
Yeah.
it's pretty tight. In other words, I haven't put a lot of fluff in there and everything, and I didn't burden you with like during the RFP preparation process. Should that be the way to go? We have to file the RFP with the DPS.
But what happens if we want to just opt into the current contract?
In
Wouldn't that
case-
eliminate like the RFP prep, the issue, all that?
Right.
He's asking, is there any way to speed it up?
Right. So then you'd be starting down at the contract signature point, which is 11/23. So
It's right around here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. See what happens when I'm in control of these things?
So if we were aggressive, could we shave a month off? That's not out of the question.
Not out of the question. So at least we're protecting people.
You've got the February,
right?
That you're covered,
And we're and it's still going to be that locked
well,
in.
and even if we're shaving a month off, we could be looking at a January 1st start.
Right.
They're enrolling on January. They're enrolling on their meter reads in January.
Right.
So on the average, they're getting half of January, maybe.
But it's still something that they're going to be able to see some type of help on.
Right. So
if the prices miraculously are lower with Con Ed, they could unenroll.
Well, that's exactly right, and that was where I was going to sort of do the wrap. Is the basics of the format remain the same. It's that you're promoting renewable energy first. Don't forget that's part of our goal, right? And then you always have the ability to opt out at any time. So
at least it locks them into the price. So when things start going haywire, and
it's an option that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Right.
For sure.
Now,
Right.
John, this is just on the kilowatt hour, correct? Not on the delivery. That's
Correct.
still charged
Yep.
by the provider.
Thanks again for reminding, because
So like
people are
NYSEG's
watching.
got a rate case proposal that's pending with the PSC, right? So this wouldn't impact that, but it does on the production side. So if NYSEG is warning us of upwards of 40% increase, and Con Ed's warning us of a 28% increase, then who knows how bad that actually gets?
You're right.
But at least they're putting the mile markers out there, saying this is how much more it's going to cost to produce your energy.
Yeah.
If we can lock it in at a lower rate now, at least we're helping them. At least we're helping our residents. A
little bit, yeah,
a little bit down. In the worst part of the winter, and then yes, and you do it also by, on the green energy side too. So it's a double win.
Yeah.
Right.
And they know what to expect, and they're not going to have the volatility of the bouncing ping pong.
So I'm going to throw in one more moving piece, though, is the renewable energy market, specifically the REC market, renewable energy certificates. 2023 is very, very tight, and so we're being warned that the supply is not a given. So that would be a.
So what happens in that case?
What happens is, you say we want to do this. At that point, the supplier has to go to the rec supplier. There's some major suppliers who own the generation out there and say, okay, I've got this. The rec supplier is not going to give them an offer unless they have a specific, I'm ready to sign this contract thing. So
Right.
you
So
ask
unless
them
unless they have the capacity to produce the energy, right?
Yeah, and whether or not the recs are already spoken for.
Right.
That's on the renewable side.
That's on the renewable side.
If somebody could, correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody, when we prefer the renewable side, I think, I mean, I know I do, but a resident can opt in to either side. We don't decide what the resident.
But the resident would have to opt out into the standard product.
Right.
The supplier would, as you start this thing up, the supplier has to cover themselves versus basically the whole. They'll make some assumptions around. There'll be some amount of switching to standard, so they'll go and get a commitment at that time, so they're backed up behind them for the supply of the recs. Right?
So, but can a resident who has opted in to this program jump directly from the renewable?
Yes.
They don't have to go back to Con
beginning.
Ed or back to NICEAG.
No.
Then
they just let us know, and so
they
that's
can
not
run.
an issue.
So for me, it's I want to give the residents options, right? I mean, whether you like the program, you don't like the program, you have the option to like it or not like it. I think it's a great program, to be quite honest. But the idea, and I think what started the conversation was we needed to do something for the residents because what happened last year was disastrous.
Right. And that's why you're hearing these announcements from Con Ed and NICEAG.
Oh yeah, no, I know that. It's just at least this time we'll be better prepared, where the residents will have the option to do whatever they want at any time that they want. I mean, you can't get any better than that. I mean,
Right.
Then if we wanted to go forward with using the existing contracts, just to shave off time.
Yeah, I think we would tell the supplier that they're interested in that, and that would essentially be a negotiation.
We need to shave the time off. I mean,
I think so too.
If we're going to wait till
Yeah.
March, what would be the point? Until February 1st, when everything starts to calm down and the sun starts to come out, and it's just doesn't make sense. It makes sense for the following year, absolutely, but it doesn't make sense for this year.
And that's why you opt into the existing contract. You're shaving off the RFP process.
Yeah.
So we can piggyback into the existing, assuming that they allow us in. You piggyback into the existing contract, and we're talking maybe the middle of January is when we're.
Which gives you more of a viable option to step into today's season.
Yeah.
Look, at this point, it's pennies everywhere. We're just trying to find the best way to save it. I mean, everything is just.
And we can lock in a price.
Yeah, we
plus
just need to
the
lock in some
environmental benefits of it. I mean, and I agree with Serge. I think if you're going to do it, you go with the green side.
Because it's already there.
Yeah, right.
And they have the option to switch to the standard. So, if Con Ed's at 15, they can opt down to the 13 something. That's another level of protection there. And then if the market's going some other place, they can opt out.
So what do you need from us? So we told you, Dan, you've got the approval from the town board to move forward to piggyback on the existing contracts. Do you need a formal resolution?
So our issue, you want to go back to that indicative pricing slide, just so it's in front of people? Yeah. So the issue remains that NICEAG is still a little bit out of reach there. Now, could that yet move?
Explain to the board, what do you mean by that? It's out of reach. The current contract's at 10.1.
That's right. And the indicative price from just yesterday was 12.11. So in other words, the supplier is saying, that's what I can supply for, and if you want to get into the contract that's lower, that obviously implies that they're not doing so well with that.
Okay.
So our chances of getting into that contract are less likely.
Less likely, yeah. you know, I played with the idea with like, well, if one's a little higher, one's a little lower, maybe they can kind of absorb it all on their side, and you know, call it a wash, and go into both contracts. You know, does mean that, you know, the sort of natural price that the Con Ed rate is at would be nudged up, you know, versus the last indicative. But you know, maybe there's some room for that kind of.
I think it's worth pursuing, and I think we should absolutely use the current contract, just because of a timing standpoint.
Okay.
So, I say to you, do you need a resolution from the board? Do you take this conversation and just say, okay, I know what I need to do? What do you need?
How do we partner with you to effectuate?
You could do a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the contract contingent on being able to
Get in.
opt into the current contracts, existing contracts at the rates, you know, shown here, and then you'd have a contingency there. Then we go back and say, well, we've got, you know, a contract. How do we get there, and try to put that together within the next, you know, week or two.
I'd say we pass that, and hopefully we could get it in. But it's going to be so important for, you know, ironically, I think like half of the village has electric heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And our seniors are going to be hurting
Right.
on a fixed income, and now all of a sudden your electric has doubled again.
And us moms trying to volunteer for all these
Can we do the
who have
resolution
electric
now?
as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can do the did you get the wording of that resolution by any chance? No. Can you say it again, Dan?
Yeah, so that would be to authorize the supervisor to sign the supply contracts for Westchester Power for both NYSEG and Con Ed territories, contingent on being able to follow the same format and with the same pricing.
Yep.
As
As
shown
the
here.
existing contract.
As
The
the existing contract.
10.179 and the
0.179 for
15.128.
NYSEG and
Right.
15.128 for Con Ed.
For the green supply. I didn't put the standard supply number there,
Oh, yeah, I
but
got
it
you.
would be per the existing contract.
Yes.
If the slide previous shows what it is today, if Con Ed was supplying it without your contract or Sustainable Westchester contract,
What Con Ed's?
Con Ed and NYSEG.
Yeah, it shows it. This is it.
Oh, this one's it.
Yeah, so those are the, you know, every few days we're saying, you know, tell us where you would be if you were making a new fresh offer to
Oh, I see.
somebody.
Okay.
For Con Ed and for NYSEG.
They're under contract for this. What it is.
I say let's move it.
Okay, firm contract. They're under contract for that. That's what Con Ed is, right?
No, this is it.
That's what Con Ed is.
15.128 would be for Con Ed.
Okay.
10.179 would be for NYSEG. That's the current. These are the current contract numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But those are probably going to shoot up.
Are they going to shoot up?
I
mean,
think
for
this
sure.
this is good, and you know, your resolution will hopefully have them stretching to make it work.
All right, I have no problem making the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Very good.
We will be in
We'll be
close,
busy.
close contact with you to try and
Yeah.
wrap it up.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right.
Try to get it done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to add? We kind of just.
No,
We kind of were begging to see how to partner. We're like,
yeah, no, I
I
think,
think the board's well versed in it. We understand what we were trying to accomplish,
we've-
and we're at the point of either we're going to jump in or we're not.
yeah, and we've seen the
And so,
damage it's doing.
You know, we understand the environmental benefits hands down, and I think everyone is bracing for the financial impacts of a rough winter. So it's
I
just,
try to restrain myself from, you know, talking into extreme terms about that, and you know, I hope it's not like that, but you know, nobody is doing anything to make it any better at this point.
Right.
So,
Look, just to
Right.
beat a
You
dead
know.
horse, if by some random act of God, the Con Ed and NYSEG actual companies go down,
then
you could opt out.
Yep.
right. Then you can jump back into NYSEG.
Dan, real quick, question came through. How does this affect people on community solar?
It doesn't, because remember those are. But thanks for asking again, because those are basic questions that people watching want.
Yeah.
So that's a separate track. If you're in community solar, you're getting the benefit of that, and it flows through onto your bill as a financial discount. just a line item, says you got a credit of this much. So it's a separate track from this is your supply. Your supply is X cents per kilowatt hour, and they're complementary.
So you could be on both at the same time.
You could be on both and go in and out of this one. Stay on
Stay
your
as
community
community.
solar. Yeah.
Great.
You always get that
Yeah.
discount. Great.
Okay.
All right, Dan.
Great.
Let's make some magic.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
It's like the Scott Boris of community power over here.
Okay. And last but not least, AMS Acquisitions. Janet and Mark regarding the rezoning for the senior living project. This is the senior living project up on the north side of town. I apologize, I don't have the address right in front of me.
Thank you, Supervisor. It's 800 East Main Street.
800 East Main Street, the old contractor register property. Take it away.
So thank you. For the record, my name is Janet Garris. I'm a partner with Del Bello, Dinellen, Weingarten, Wise & Whitaker here this evening on behalf of the petitioner. I know that my partner, Mark Weingarten, has been before you a number of times. I've kind of been in the background. He had a conflict this evening. So over the course of the process, we'll probably be interchangeable on this matter.
Great.
So I know that you have seen this previously, and just to reintroduce you to it, we have now formally filed a petition for not only rezoning of the property, but for some modifications to the RSP2 district, which is the zone that we've asked the property to be rezoned to.
Yep.
So just to take you back a little bit and tell you about the property, 800 East Main Street, it is on the north side of Route 6 at the intersection with the Taconic. It's approximately 35.5 acres, currently developed with an office building and in the OB district of the town. And AMS Acquisitions, a related entity of AMS Acquisitions, is the contract vendee. We are here with the permission this evening of the seller of the property. And AMS is a company that has been around for about 10 years. Joining me this evening, Ryan Sutherland with AMS. And they have a portfolio of products throughout New York City and are now moving into the suburbs as well. They've got approximately 750,000 square feet of Class A office space in Connecticut, and as I mentioned, they're shifting their focus to the suburban housing market in Westchester and in New Jersey, and they're in various stages of development of more than 3,500 luxury apartments and townhouses in Yonkers and Buchanan, and now hopefully we're hoping to bring them to Yorktown. So once again, the proposal is for rezoning of this 35-acre property, and it's intended to be developed with approximately 250 multifamily, but it's intended to be a senior citizen development offered to those 55 and older. And Stuart Lax, who is our project architect, is here from Perkins Eastman, and he can take you through our program in a little bit more detail. You'll be able to see that the design of the project has been designed to retain, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 acres of open space. There's an area of the property which is intended to remain as open space, which is nearest the park, approximately 6.5 acres, and then approximately 9 or so acres of open recreational amenity spaces on the property. Approximately 383 parking spaces, and most of those parking spaces will be shielded from view. They'll be located beneath the buildings that are being proposed. Upscale amenities for this project: walking paths, tennis courts, clubhouse, a pool, an amphitheater. It's intended to be a project for really active seniors and for them to maintain their active lifestyles. We're finding that this kind of a property and this kind of a project is something that there's really a need for. As people are starting to get a little bit older, they become empty nesters. They'd like to stay in the community in which they raise their children. Sometimes you have the unfortunate situation of people being divorced and wanting to stay closer to their family and their children. That also is something that this would provide a product for. In addition, what we find is that there are a lot of, for example, snowbirds They like to have a place up north where they can rent and be maintenance free, during the nicer months of the year, and then they can go away without having to worry about their home and be gone for the winter months. So one of the things that we've talked about. One of the things that we've talked about with you previously are the different benefits that this would provide. Currently, this is a site that is vacant, underutilized. The building there is empty.
Yeah.
The office market in Westchester, unfortunately, is changing, and there doesn't seem to be much demand for the type of building that exists there now. So, some of the benefits that the project would provide: increased property taxes with. And especially school taxes with no additional demand on the schools, because it would be for 55 and over, and that would limit any
The
school
procreation.
children. Right, and then in connection with the construction, obviously, you would have construction jobs over that period of construction, but then you'd also have secondary economic benefits, people that would be utilizing goods and services in the town, and that would help. And I know that that's something that's very important to the town, and especially in that Route 6 corridor that's there. Once again, creating more diverse housing stock for your community. With that, I know the night is getting late, so I'd like to introduce Stuart Lax with Perkins Eastman, and he can take you through the slides. And I know you've seen some of them before, but we'd like
please
to.
put them back up.
Yeah,
That'd be
it's great.
I'll just need the Wi-Fi code so that I can connect to the TV.
You want me to-
No.
Town hall.
Yeah, he's got to go under town hall. It's lowercase Yorktown, 10598 NY.
10598 NY. Shouldn't be announcing it on TV.
You got all day?
Oh.
Oops.
Why did I get this from another?
No. I had it. I closed one thing too now.
For our electric parade.
I'm gonna be a reindeer this year. Ready.
That's what you're doing?
I'm gonna do the onesies. My sister sent that when I asked her. She sent me that. I go,
I want to get stilts and go as Big Sur.
to the parade.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question
I don't
while
wanna
we're
break my neck.
while he's setting up? Did you? So I understand that you also have code amendments that you're proposing.
Right.
I'm wondering if you've spoken with the planning department about the code amendments yet, or
Yes.
yes.
We have,
You need Sorry, you need to move out of the mic so we don't get yelled at. That's okay.
No, that's okay.
We're scared of the guy in the back.
So just a little bit more detail, and I apologize for not saying that.
No, it's okay. I just figured
so
while we were waiting.
Not only are we requesting that the property be rezoned from its current OB to RSP2, we're also requesting some modifications to the RSP2 district. And what we've done is we've tried to limit those modifications in the code. This particular project, we're looking for an increase in FAR and an increase in height. So the way we've proposed to modify the code is that for sites that are 25 acres or greater,
Okay.
we can there can be an increased FAR and increased height.
Okay. So there's a threshold there.
Yes.
On size. Great. Okay. Good to know. Please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience while I deal with the technical issues.
No, no worries.
The site, 800 East Main Street. And really just to give everybody an orientation, adjacent to the Taconic and really at the intersection, the northeast intersection of Highway 6 and the Taconic. You can see the mall in the background and the park immediately to the east. So here's our site plan, again, which we've shown you before.
Yep.
The yellow represents the residential buildings. The sort of grayish beige in the middle is the clubhouse, and we've got some recreation areas that we've arranged the residential units around. And as Ms. Gira said, 6.25 acres that are being left as open space. That's actually at the north end of the site. 250 units in 24 buildings altogether. So this is the existing green vegetative buffer, both the preserved portion at the north on the left side of the image, and then adjacent to both the Taconic and Route 6. That involves both our land and adjacent land, and we've started working on the view corridor images that will be required later, and we are fairly confident that the existing vegetative buffer will hide the roof line of these buildings, both in terms of the elevation changes and the tree line and the distance of the buildings back from the roads. One of the features of the project, of the development, is the common area available for use by residents. It's both active and passive spaces for recreation, a variety of different uses. Extra slide. The residential buildings here, again, clustered relatively close together to maximize the green space and the open space around the site. This is an aerial view of the existing site. You see the two office buildings and the surrounding parking. And this is a rendering of what the proposed development is within, and you can see, again, the maintained vegetative buffer.
Can you go back one?
Yeah, sure. That one?
Okay. You go forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then we have some, again, sort of ground level renderings with a little bit more detail. This is of that central courtyard with the man-made water feature, and then a variety of the different building types, residential building types that would be around that. This is the cluster of rental units at the south end of the site. This, again, some of the recreation facilities on the left. You can see the sort of walking, jogging path there as well, and some of the buildings looking south. You just sort of get a glimpse of the Taconic there on the upper right.
Right, that was looking from the north.
From the
to
north,
south.
looking south.
Could you put that one back up again?
Yes, sir. And then sort of closest, so to speak, on the right-hand side is the clubhouse recreation building, again with a variety of amenities, services within.
The road on the left here, that's Route
Yeah.
6?
No.
What is
That's
that?
that's part of the walking trail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Route 6 would be really not quite visible from this.
Right.
It's sort of past these buildings.
Yeah, all right.
The Taconic is on the right
Yeah,
side.
this is the Taconic.
All the way to the right.
Yep, I'm not quite sure when my renderer put a bus on the Taconic, but That would be the Taconic.
Must be early in the morning here.
Yeah.
They are allowed.
So it is a.
First thing in the morning and at night.
Yeah,
One
right,
trip.
that's why I said first.
I know it's mixed, right? Like it's rental and
Rental and ownership, yes.
and then there's obviously amenities, which is and we have active living because we're all living longer and people want to live in communities and whatnot. I know that a lot of senior living spaces allow you to be there even for care. Will this have amenities like that, or this will have to be? This is all self-sufficient.
No, there are no continuum of care
Okay, that's what I
facilities
just
on
wanna
this
make-
property. This is all independent, senior, 55 and over, active
okay.
adult.
Great.
So break it down for me. How many units would be rental? You said we're
Out of the
talking
250.
We're talking 250, right?
Yeah.
250 total. I think that the numbers that we had originally talked about were about 200 rental, 50 for sale, but obviously that'll depend on market demand at the time.
Next to the townhomes, it says for sale in the description of the paperwork. Are the townhomes only for sale, or are they rental also?
I think it's anticipated currently that they're intended to be the for sale
for sale.
units.
Okay, great.
That could change depending on market demand, but I think that's the plan right now.
Okay.
And just to be clear, there'll be market rate.
Yes.
And there are adults at 55 that do have children and that do have children and whatnot. So are they all the bedroom? How many bedrooms? Like
I don't
3? Are they mixed?
I mean, it's a range from 1 to 3 bedrooms.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure there are also where if they want to downsize or be part of a. Okay.
I mean, part of that is to give a variety of different product type.
Yeah, I mean, I have 42. I have senior moments. So I'm like, I get it. So I want to be able to, like, at 55, I could see.
Just wait.
Yeah, well,
Gets
at
better.
55, I could also see it being a way to downsize, and I just want to see if that it's going to be a place where you can. It's not just like basic. Like obviously, I see courts and whatnot. So.
You can downsize to luxury here, though.
Yeah, not so bad.
On this picture here, what is the height of these buildings?
We're seeing 4 stories, I guess, depending on the terrain.
Topography.
The max-
Topography,
Maximum height we're proposing is 55 feet.
I think we're willfully under that, but we'll get to that when we have Mr. Tegeter come up at this point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's why they want to change it.
Currently 45 is permitted.
That was like the resolution they were asking for.
Yeah, and that's covered actually on this next slide, which I don't know how well you can read it. There's a description all the way on the left, but the OB zone is what the site currently is. The petition is proposing to amend that to the RSP2 zone.
That's greater than 25.
Yeah, and yes, because it's 25, and I've sort of noted that where appropriate. And then the proposed column all the way on the right is for this development.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
I should point out, these numbers are approximate based on the concept plan.
Mhm.
Obviously, as things develop, we'll be fine-tuning these numbers. But obviously, the intent is to stay within the requirements of the RSP2.
Any questions? No? Any comments from you? Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that, thank you for hearing us this evening. I think that we would ask for you to take the next step in the review of this petition and the actions posed by it. I think what we'd like you to do is to prepare a resolution for your next available agenda to commence the secret process. So we'd ask you to declare intent to be lead agency. We do have an EAF which is still being prepared. We have stated in our petition that it'll be coming shortly under separate cover.
Yep.
And so we'd like you to commence the environmental review process, and if we can do that, we can be on our way.
I just want to ask John Tegeter if he can come to the podium. And John, just because it seems like it's a 1-2 punch here, right? So are we going to do a track with the proposed code amendments?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. All together.
All together? All together now.
All together now. It's
All right.
been done before.
Very good.
So, the
Right.
issues are the height.
Yeah.
and-
Right, I know that.
And the visual impact. Now, I've worked with them already on the visual impact, and I told them I'm not done. I'll beat them up some more, but that's one of the bigger issues because of the, it's on a promontory.
Yeah.
And you don't want to.
And I'm sure there's also issues with DOT, with the Taconic being a state scenic highway that we have to make sure that we're conscientious of.
Right, so I was just going to say, we've been very conscientious of the fact that we're aware, the Taconic is a scenic byway, and so the project has been designed to, as Stuart mentioned, to maintain that vegetative buffer, so that there's really no change in the view shed from the Taconic to the property. And then, the project has been designed so that the heights of the buildings are not discernible from the Taconic.
Great.
And we're preparing the view shed illustrations and sections as such to demonstrate that.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you.
Yeah, because the topography here, it goes uphill. This is going to definitely be one of the balloon test areas most likely, so that we can, get a visual on this. Because it is, from what I can see here, in the renderings only, it's quite a bit over the top of the trees, which would just, which would hide the view shed. From what I can see, like I say, only on the rendering.
So we're in the process of preparing a visual impact analysis that we will share with you, and that will show you, just from the Taconic, it'll show you where the tops of the buildings are vis-a-vis the tops of the trees, and what you'll be able to see and what you won't be able to see, and what you can see through the buffer and can't see through the buffer,
Right,
et
yeah,
cetera.
we've got leaf on, leaf off.
Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Those are available.
You have any, did you, I know it's jumping the gun, do you have any estimated numbers as far as tax revenue or what you guys,
I don't
that
think
you'd
we've
like to
gotten that
share?
far yet, but we will.
I'm sure you got a number in your head, but all right, we'll wait for that.
That's all right. All in due time.
Yep.
All right, very good. Well, we appreciate the presentation. We look forward to the EAF, so that once we get the EAF, then we can take next steps.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we need to base the trees. Yeah.
We have a couple of resolutions to conclude the evening. Let's see. We will just get prepared here, and then we'll start. Since Ed touched all my papers and messed everything up and put everything out of order.
You want that?
Nope, I got mine, but there were other things that you had to go around and start messing around and messing things up. What am I going to do with you? All right, here we go. So we're going to do a resolution recognizing October as Hindu Heritage Month. I'm happy to read. I think it's important to read this, actually,
Yes.
because many of us were able to participate in a Diwali celebration this past weekend, right? Surge was there. Ed was there. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to our hosts, Dr. Raj and Seema Gupta. So I just want to read this quickly because I think it's important for members of our community to understand what Diwali is. And we do want to wish a happy Diwali to those who are celebrating. And so it reads, whereas the festival of Diwali commences on Monday, October 24th, 2022. Excuse me. Whereas Diwali is also known as the Festival of Lights and symbolizes the spiritual victory of light over darkness, or good over evil, and of knowledge over ignorance. And whereas Diwali is celebrated as both the day of Thanksgiving and the beginning of the new year for Hindus, and whereas the festival is celebrated over 5 days, with the third day being the most significant, as it coincides with the darkest night of the lunar month. And whereas the town of Yorktown is proud of the Indian population who call our community home, and whereas in celebration of Diwali, the town of Yorktown is partnering with HSS Shakas as part of a county-wide Siwa Diwali initiative to collect food for local shelters and food pantries, and that's also going to include the food pantries here in Yorktown. And so now, therefore, be it resolved that Yorktown recognizes October as Hindu Heritage Month, and be it further resolved that the town of Yorktown extends its best wishes to all in our community celebrating Diwali, and be it further resolved that the town of Yorktown continues its mission of being a community of acceptance for all who call Yorktown home.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Very good. Moving on, we're going to appoint Robert Alfano to Maintenance Mechanic Job Class Code 0465-02 within the Parks and Recreation Department effective October 31st, 2022. We will also appoint Victor Contreras Bermeo to Skilled Laborer Job Class Code 0423-02 with the Building Maintenance Department effective October 31st, 2022. We're going to appoint Michael Hoy to Skilled Laborer Job Class Code 0423-02 with the Building Maintenance Department effective October 31st, 2022. Next, we're going to authorize Barton and LaJudas to complete a watershed inventory for the town's planned local waterfront revitalization plan. We will accept the retirement of Joseph Lewis from the Water Department effective later this week, October 28th, 2022. I just want to note that Joe's been with this town for 35 years. And so I really do want to thank him for his service to the town of Yorktown, congratulate him on a well-earned retirement, and wish him all the best after so many years of service to our community. So thank you, Joe.
That will be a no vote from me. I don't know about the rest of the board. I think
Letting them go?
I'm not letting them go. What do you think, guys? No.
After 35 years, I think he's earned it.
He's got another good 35 years.
That's right.
Yeah. We're going to authorize the comptroller to release an escrow deposit to Prestige Renovations and Remodeling Inc. and Silver Oak Real Estate Consulting. We're going to authorize the comptroller to process a budget transfer for the Highway Department. This is for supply material and, everyone's favorite word, snow material and supply. We're going to authorize the highway superintendent to sign a change order number 2 in the amount of $3,592.11 to be attached to the bid awarded to S&L Plumbing. We're going to authorize the town board to rescind a resolution passed on September 6, 2022, awarding the purchase of 3 Fisher plow spreaders. We're going to authorize the comptroller to process a bond release to Wall to Wall Contracting, Inc., located at 7 Anita Road in Yorktown. And coming out of closed, we're going to also include here, be it resolved that Nazreen Corey is hereby appointed provisional to the Civil Service Title Senior Office Assistant Office Manager Job Class Code 0943-01, effective October 31st, 2022, to be paid at the rate set forth in Yorktown CSEA salary, Schedule A1, Group 10, Step 5, which is $73,271 annually. Also resolved, the Town Board resolution passed by the Town Board on October 11th, 2022, with regards to Phil Marino's additional vacation time, is hereby rescinded. And last but not least, resolved that the town board, we're going to be adjusting the calendar, will be meeting with its department heads to review the proposed budget on Monday, October 31st, from 9 a.m. to Tuesday. Oh, geez, see what happens? On Tuesday, November 1st, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and Thursday, November 3rd, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and the town board will also be canceling the scheduled town board meeting on Tuesday, November 1st.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motions carry. Thank you, Yorktown. We hope everyone has a great night. Be careful on the roads.
Motion to adjourn.
We will be going, we're going to be making a motion to go back into closed to discuss a personnel matter.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.